Don't make assumptions. We only hear what we want to hear and see what we want to see. We have the habit of dreaming with no basis in reality. We literally dream things up in our imagination when we don't understand situations. These dreams are called assumptions. The tendency to make assumptions about everything what others are doing and thinking. The problem with making assumptions is that we believe they are the truth. But when you think about it, we are afraid to ask questions to get clarification, so we make assumptions. This is what tends to happen. We take it personally, then blame them, and then respond by sending emotional poison with our words. The human brain is quite funny when you think of it. When someone says something, we make assumptions, but when someone doesn't say anything, we still make assumptions. We assume that everyone thinks the way we do, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. All because we lack the courage to ask questions. We have agreed that asking questions isn't safe. Before we continue, we at Self-Improvement are on a journey to become the best possible versions of ourselves. We encourage you to join us on this journey by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell down below. All the sadness and drama in your life was rooted in making assumptions. The story you tell yourself assuming why negative things happen in your life is the root of your sadness and drama. And the problem with this is that we tend to gossip about negative assumptions we make about others. We think we are right about these assumptions. When others disagree, we defend our assumptions, trying to prove someone else wrong. And in doing so, we send emotional poison to others. We make assumptions because we don't understand things, and then we defend our assumptions, because when the assumptions we make end up being incorrect, our dream bubble will pop and we end up being hurt. For example, you walk in a mall and find someone you like. That person turns to you, smiles, and then walks away. Some of you tend to make assumptions out of this situation and even create a whole fantasy out of it. You end up really wanting to believe in this fantasy and make it real. In your mind, a whole relationship begins from that, and a whole dream begins to form just from this assumption. You think, maybe we could get married. But the thing is, this entire assumption only lives in your own fantasy world. It's basically your own personal dream. In any kind of relationship, we make the assumption that others know what we think, and we don't have to say what we want. We assume that people who love us should know what we want or how we feel. We are even willing to destroy relationships just to defend this agreement. In relationships, it is very important to be clear in your communication of what you want. When you do something for someone and you want something in return, the other person could feel that there is a hidden intention behind it. If you don't communicate it clearly, but assume the other person knows, you will come across as not genuine. Make sure the thing you want and the thing you want to give are of the same value. Otherwise, there is no reason to communicate it in the first place, since it's an unfair trade to begin with. Real love is accepting other people the way they are without trying to change them. If we try to change someone, it means we don't really like that person. Of course, if you decide to live with someone, if you make that agreement, it is always better to make that agreement with someone who is exactly the way you want him or her to be, accepting that person's flaws as well. If you know how to accept someone's flaws, you will find a way to deal with their flaws appropriately. The reason why we try to change other people is because we try to make them more like us, so we feel more accepted by them. But surprisingly, there are many people who are just like you. Even though it is impossible to be liked by everyone, if you can be comfortable, just be yourself. There will always be people who will like you for being you. There is no reason to change yourself or others. The only thing you should focus on is trying to be the best version of yourself. However, there will also be people who actually want you to help them. There will be people who want to be changed, usually because you have certain traits or habits that they look up to and want to have for themselves. Even though you help them out, the main reason why they change is not because of you. It is because they themselves want to change, and you were given the opportunity to guide them along the way. Only when people want your help should you help them. Never help someone who doesn't want to be helped. If you don't understand something, it is better for you to ask and be clear. Instead of making assumptions, it is better to ask questions than make assumptions, because assumptions set us up for suffering. The day you stop making assumptions, you will communicate clearly and free of emotional poison. Without making assumptions, your word becomes impeccable. But if you do assume, you should assume the positive. If you come from a dark place, your assumptions will most likely be negative. When you're more confident and have a higher self-esteem, you will naturally make more positive assumptions. There are people who were in really terrible and traumatic experiences, but managed to come out of it stronger than ever before. When you are able to look at the positive of a negative situation, you will be able to come out of the situation, and you will come out of it with a higher level of understanding than before. Instead of blaming people, you should ask yourself, what can I do to overcome this situation? What action can you take, and actually take that action? Because in the end, the only person who is actually responsible for your own happiness is yourself. Do you know someone who always make assumptions about everything? I'm pretty sure you know more than just one person who actually does this. Share this video to everyone who can definitely benefit from this information. If what you listened to was something that piqued your interest and you want to learn even more about how assumptions affects our lives or how to deal with it, then you should definitely check out the book The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I'll go ahead and post a link down below in the description so you guys can check it out. In order to improve yourself every single day, it is very important to expose yourself to high quality information that you can get from books. But with so many distractions nowadays like social media, Netflix, and video games, it requires a lot of willpower and focus to actually grab a book and read it. If you're one of these people, I highly recommend you to start listening to audiobooks. With the audible.com mobile app, you can plug in earphones and expose yourself to books while doing day-to-day things such as chores, walking, traveling, working out, or even playing video games. We at Self Improvement have teamed up with Audible to bring you a special offer to try Audible. Click on the link in the description down below and sign up for a free trial and get your first 2 audiobooks for free. If you end up disliking the service, you can cancel it at any time and the books are yours to keep.